Welcome everybody. Really glad to have you all here for our Monday webinar for Getting Started Website Building 101. My name is Catherine and I'm a Happy Engineer with WordPress.com since 2012. Really delighted to be hosting today's session. So a couple of notes. We're recording this and we're going to share the link to the recording with you after the webinar. And we have a Q&A feature here in Zoom, so please go ahead and feel free to ask questions anytime throughout the presentation, and we will get to them after the session. If we don't get to your question, please do reach out to us at wordpress.com/contact. You'll get in touch with a happiness engineer, and we'll be happy to help you one-on-one. We'll also be sending you an email in the next couple of days that includes the link to today's video, a little survey asking you a couple of questions about how you liked it, and a discount code as a thank you for joining us today. You can also see our upcoming webinars. We have different topics every day, and we're also going to be doing a longer webinar about once a month. So that's at wordpress.com/webinars, so please check those out. So now I'd like to turn the reins over, and I'm very happy to introduce my colleague, Erin, who will be doing this presentation for you.
Sorry, just trying to share my screen there. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Looks
okay.
Good.
All right, so this is kind of where you start when you go to create a new site, and you would pick a free domain that will be something.wordpress.com. This particular site that I'm building is going to be about my dog, Wicket. He's in Newfoundland, he's very cute. So we'll call it Wicket the Noof. And then I can come down here to select this free address. And then we'll start with a free plan here. And most of anything that you would need to do can be done on the free plan. There are some additional features in the paid plans, but for our purposes and for most of what you would want to do, you can do on a free plan. And when you've created the site, it's now been created, and I can access that at wicketthenoof.wordpress.com. You'll land here on your My Home page, and there's kind of a checklist to go through and set things up. So we want to give our site a name, which is different than the wicketthenoof.wordpress.com. This is going to be what appears at the top of the site, and so we'll call that Wicket the Newfoundland. And then we'll just dismiss that. And then as a tagline, he participates in, or he's training to participate in tracking, obedience, and rally events. So we'll just use that as the tagline. And then there are some other settings here. You can change the language, time zone, and when you're ready to launch the site, you can do that here, and that's what will ultimately make it public. So then the public can access it at wicketthenoof.wordpress.com as well. So we'll go ahead and save that and return to my home. And then we can update our home page from here. I'll show you another way to access the pages as well. Okay, so this is our home page, and we're going to use the block editor, which is the new editor that WordPress is based on, that is built on various blocks. So there are paragraph blocks, heading blocks, image blocks, and then some more other types of blocks like column blocks that you can then nest images and paragraphs and things like that into. And so you can kind of think of them as building blocks that you'll use to build your pages. And so if I wanted to change the image here, for example, I can click within that image. I can make this information 2 columns or 1 column. I can change the background itself. There are different styles and settings that you can choose from. I'm going to go with this main one, and to replace the image, I'm just going to click replace and then upload, which is going to be uploading from my computer. And I'll start with a picture of Wicket, my dog. Okay, so there he is. And then to change this text, we'll just say, we'll just put the site title there. Okay, and then you can change this text as well, this, where this button points to. Anytime you're working in a block, this right-hand column over here is going to be the place where you find the specific settings for that block type, and those settings will change depending on what block you're working with. Like for the button, you can change the style of the button, you can change the color of the text or the background of the button, border settings, you can change where the link is pointing to, and all of that kind of thing. Whereas if we're looking at this image block, we can change, where it's being focused, that kind of stuff. So it's different depending on what kind of block you're working in, but all of the settings will be over there. So we'll go ahead and update this page here. And then go back to our home page. And so aside from this setup list, you can also think of this as kind of your central hub for all of your content. So pages, posts, media, any settings, your domain settings can be found here under manage. Your people, if you have additional users that you want to add to the site, you would add them here. But right now we're just going to look at pages. And so when you first start your site, you'll start with a few default pages: home, about, contact, and blog. Our home is already set as our home page, which means that that's going to have static content on it that will not change unless I come and actually edit the page like I did just a moment ago. And this blog page, we're going to click the 3 buttons here and set it as our posts page, which means any blog post that we publish to the site. And that's going to be things like if this site were real and I was posting about Wicket, my dog, anytime he participates in an event or wins any kind of a title, or there's information that I want to share that doesn't belong on the home page or the about page or the contact page, those kinds of updates would go on the blog, and all of those will post on the blog page in reverse chronological order with the newest on top. So we're going to add a new page here just to show what that process is like. And we'll say that we'll call this page events. And you'll see here that you can start with a blank layout. And if you wanted to do that, we would click choose blank layout here. But we've also got some sort of preset page layouts that are fully customizable, but it gives you sort of a baseline to start with. And we are going to start with, let's say this one here. This looks good. Even though it's a team page, the layout of it makes it good for showing the events that my dog has participated in, for example. So I'm going to use this team layout and then change the page title to past events, and then I would change this text here by highlighting it and then typing something else in there. I don't have text prepared, but we'll just say events Wicket has participated in the past. Okay. And if I wanted to, really quickly, I want to show you, if you wanted to make any text into a link, you would do that by highlighting that text, clicking this link, and then I could link this either by pasting in a URL. Like if I wanted to link to externally to Wicket's Instagram page or something like that, I could just paste that URL in there. But if you're linking to a page within your site, so say we wanted to link back to our contact page, we can just type contact there, and then you'll see that you've got the option to link to the contact page. And so this here, again, if you wanted to replace the image, you can just replace it. I'll upload another image here of my dog. There he is. And, we would just say like, whatever this event was, obedience 2019. And then I could, change each one of these. And if we imagine that I went down through here and added different images of Wicket and different event content all the way down through here, we can then this "do you want to work with us" block doesn't really make sense here. So if I wanted to remove that, I can click these three dots and do remove block, and then say get in touch. I do want to keep that there, and again, I can edit that to link to our contact page. And then the way that you would add additional blocks, if that's what you wanted to do, would be to, like, let's say I wanted to have just a column. I can choose a column block, and I'll choose a 3-column block, and then within each of those columns, we're going to add, oops, I typed paragraph. I'm going to type image, and then I'll do the same for these blocks here. And then I can upload other images of Wicket there. And you could do that for each of those 3. And then it would just be a column of 3 images of the dog. They could link out to somewhere. You can kind of change the proportions of those columns. And again, there are settings over here in the side. So we'll go ahead and publish this, even though it's not fully fleshed out. And publishing, I just want to make a note, we're publishing it to the site, but since the site hasn't been launched yet, that doesn't mean that this page is now publicly available. The site itself is not publicly available, so think of publishing as publishing to the site, and if the site's public, then that page will be public, but if not, you don't have to worry about hitting publish. So the next thing, now that we've created some pages and edited some pages that I want to go over quickly before we run out of time, is the customizer. So under design here, this is where you would choose themes. And I'm happy with the theme that we're currently using, but there are a lot of different themes that you can choose from. Here are some of the more common and popular ones. There are more here, and you can search them by features. Like, say I wanted a theme that has its sidebar on the left. I can type in sidebar and then choose only from the themes that will have the option of having a sidebar on the left-hand side. Like you can see this Wilson one here has a left sidebar. Some of these don't show it, but there is an option for that. So you can kind of choose and narrow down your search results based on different features. And you can also narrow them down based on the plan that you're on. So if you're on a free plan, you can exclude any themes that would require a higher or paid plan. And if you are on a premium plan or a business plan and you want to only look at the themes that you have access to as part of that plan, you can click premium here and then look at the premium themes, which would be available to you at no cost at that point. And then in terms of what the theme is, like we were looking at those layouts a moment ago when we were creating the page, that's for your actual content, your pages, your posts, how those things are laid out. That's what the layouts are concerning. The themes are more about what is kind of the space around that. So where is the menu? How many menus does it have? Is it you know, a full text navigation menu, or is there just a, you know, hamburger menu icon that you then click? Is there a footer widget area? How many? Those kinds of things. It's really more about features when you're thinking of themes, as opposed to like what the actual content looks like and how that's laid out, because that stuff's highly customizable, and you'll do that on kind of a per page and per post basis. Now, once you've selected your theme, and we're just going to stick with Heaver, the theme that we were already using, you can start to customize that theme. So we, as part of the checklist that we were given initially, we already set our site title, but here under site identity, you can also add a logo here. You can also add a site icon, which is like the it's the little, like you can see it here in my tab, I think. There's the W for WordPress in the actual browser tab. You can upload a site icon for your site there. You can change what the footer credit on your site looks like from this section as well. So the footer credit is referring to this blog at WordPress. We can change that to just like the W logo, for example, or on some higher paid plans, you can hide it entirely. So we'll just go back here a bit and show some of the other options that you have. You can set up your menus from here. The menu, the primary menu, is going to be this home, blog, about, and contact. And we want to add an item to our menu because we created that new page. So you can add links to things that are external to your site, which you would use custom links to do that. We're linking to a page we created, so we can do it right here, and we're just going to add past events. And then I want that above the contact. I want contact to be the last item in the menu, so I'll drag that up. And also notice here the menu locations. This theme has 3. The primary menu location, which is here at the top. There's a footer menu, so if I wanted those same links or different links, I'm just going to use these same ones to appear in the footer of my site. Then I could click that, and now you'll see at the bottom these same menu items are there. And then there's also a social links menu, and that will add social icons, but we don't want this specific menu to show up there. So we'll go ahead and save these changes. You'll notice my past events page is now part of the menu. And then if we go back one step, we can go ahead and add our social menu and select that social links area, and then you'll see these items added. And then you can go in here and add your specific Facebook URL to make that link to your Facebook page as opposed to just Facebook. I'm not going to do that now, but we'll save those changes. And then you can also, from that customize area, that's where you will add your widgets. So like in the example of this website for Wicked's events, I might have like a calendar or a countdown widget. Let's see if we can add a milestone. So that's what that's called, to display a countdown to a certain date. So say he's got a big event coming up, I can add, we'll just go ahead and add it on like the 11th of this month at noon. And then you'll see here that this is gone in my footer widget area, and tomorrow this number will be 6. So you can add widgets and things to any widget areas that your theme happens to have. Some have a sidebar, some have widget areas in the footer, and that will vary from theme to theme. And then there's also homepage settings, which we actually dealt with back as part of our setup when I clicked the 3 dots and then chose our blog page as our post page. But here's another place that you can do it. And if we were to select this, your latest posts instead, your homepage displays your latest posts. This would be more if you were building a blogging site and you didn't want to have a static homepage. You just wanted all of your posts to appear in reverse chronological order on the homepage, but we didn't want to do that. So we selected a static homepage, chose homepage, or chose home as our homepage and blog as our posts page. And then if you're on a premium plan or higher, there's some additional CSS that you can add to change things. Like let's say I wanted the color of these icons to be different, or if I wanted to move this, social media menu to be above the other menu, or if I wanted to have it centered, things like that can be done with CSS, and you can add that code here, just not on a free plan. I think I've covered most things. We're at 17 after. What questions can I answer?
Okay, thank you, Erin. We have a bunch of questions that have come in, so I'm going to pass along some of them.
Perfect.
So someone says that they created a site a few years ago using the 2010 template, which is, you can tell they've had their site for a while. That's a 10-year-old theme, and kudos to them. They're ready to change themes. So the question is, do you suggest changing the theme on the existing site, or do they have to create a new one from scratch, a new site? And then there's a related question, which is, what if someone wants to change from 2010 and they change it to another theme, but then they want to change it back if they don't like it? And I just want to also note that 2010 is actually a retired theme. So you want to talk a bit about that, switching themes?
Yeah, I'll actually answer the second question first. So you're able to continue, as the person who asked the question knows, you're able to continue to use a retired theme after it's retired. But once you move away from that theme and choose a new theme, you wouldn't then be able to go back. You wouldn't be able to find it here in this theme section to do that. So if you want to move away, you definitely can do that. And you do not have to create a different site to do that. If you're concerned about what it might look like, you could maybe change the settings and have your site private for just a bit while you make those changes. And because there will be some adjustments maybe necessary in terms of settings and getting features where you want them, but all of your content will still be there. The pages that you created will be there. The menus that you created will be there. All of your posts will still be there, and they'll just kind of have the skin of the new theme applied to them. And then you can use some of the features of that theme and make some changes to get it to look the way that you want it. It won't necessarily look exactly as you want it as soon as you make that change, but you can definitely make the change without creating a new site. It's just that if that theme is retired and you move away from it, you would not then be able to go back to the retired theme.
Thank you. So moving on to a question about tags, and I assume they mean post tags. They referred to it as site tags, but talk a bit about the benefit of adding tags to your posts and where that's done.
Okay, sure. So let's just start with, I'll go and edit. Under site is where we would go and edit our posts. We've got 3 example posts here, and I'll just start by editing one of those. So let's edit this post, and then I'll show you where to add the tags, which would be here. Now, tags are primarily for search engine optimization. They're to enable people to find the content on the site that they're specifically looking for in terms of search engines. So but you don't want to use them, you don't want to use them in excess. So for example, taking my site about my Newfoundland dog, if this specific post was just about his performance in a specific event, I would want to tag it with, what that event type was, maybe the actual name of that event, and I'm not going to include, Wicket, Newfoundland, tracking, rally, obedience. Like if this post isn't about tracking, then I wouldn't want to include that. Search engines will largely get the information about how to index or how to serve up your content in search results based on the actual content that you've written in the post. But I don't know if you're familiar with the WordPress reader feature, but if you have followers, people who follow you, your post will show up in their reader, and I'll show you that in a moment since I've brought it up. It'll also show up under specific tags in the reader, but you just want to use them kind of sparingly and think about, like, if I were searching these terms, is this a post that I would expect to see? And if it's a post about like obedience training, I wouldn't expect to see the tracking tag there. So I would suggest using them sparingly and very, very specifically. And this right here is where you would add them. So like tracking, and then I can add multiple by adding a comma, and then we'll just update that to include the tracking tag. Does that answer the question?
Hopefully it does. Thank you, Erin. Let's ask the next question. We have 2 related questions: how to make a static homepage and how to make a blog page. So maybe you can show both of those.
Sure. So we'll go back to the customizer here. There are a couple of ways to do that. The first one is when we initially set up the page, I clicked these dots and I chose to make this homepage my homepage and this blog page my posts page. But we're going to go back under Design, Customize, which is where you sort of deal with your site-wide settings, and you would go under homepage settings, and where it says your homepage displays, you have 2 options. You can choose your latest posts, which would be more of a blog-centric website where when someone lands on your homepage, the first thing they're going to see is all of your blog posts, like I said, in reverse chronological order with the latest one you've added on top. But if you want to have a static homepage, more like a business type website and more like the site that we set up here today, then you would choose a static homepage, and then you would need to tell you would need to put it in the settings which page is going to be your home page, and then which page is going to be the page where your blog posts show up. So we selected home and blog, and then you just save those changes, and now you've got a static homepage website.
Thank you. All right. Since you're in the customizer, there's a question about, can I upload or somehow use different fonts? And how many fonts can be loaded to my site?
This is part of what is determined by your theme. So like this, well, but you can change fonts in certain paragraph or certain blocks, like it's different paragraph blocks and things. There are some font options, but primarily when you choose your theme, many of them will have a section here under the customizer that says fonts. And if you do have that, you can select a primary font for headings and things like that, and then a secondary font for your like your paragraph stuff. And then that's something else that can also be changed if there are, like, say you wanted specifically like you like most of the fonts on the site, but you wanted just these headings and your your navigation menu to be in a different font, or you wanted it to be bold or something like that, then that's something else that you could change with CSS. Again, that would require a higher plan, but.
And I also want to point out, in these newer themes like Heaver, the one you're using, Erin,
Mm-hmm.
when you have the block editor open, there's that little letter A at the top right, and that will allow you to also choose the base font and the heading font.
Yeah,
It's a
so
little
I
bit
can
tucked
show you.
away.
Yeah, I can show you that here on this page. So now
Yeah.
that we're outside of the customizer and on a page, you can, this is what she's referring to here. You can click that A button and choose the header font and the base font there. Some of the themes will have that in the customizer as well, but the newer ones, you would do it here, how she said.
Mm. So since we're in the editor, the next question would be, can you add text blocks under each picture?
You can add paragraph blocks for sure, but I wonder if what they would be referring to is more like a caption on the image. So I'll show you both. I'm going to go edit a different page actually to demonstrate this. Let's just create a new page, and I'm going to start with, rather than one of the layouts, I'm going to start with a blank page. And so I'm just going to call this images. And so we've added an image block here, and you can also, by the way, I didn't mention this, but if you have already uploaded images to your media library, you can add images from there, or you can insert them from a URL if you're hosting them somewhere else. If you've got images hosted, you can add them from there as well. But I'm going to upload an image here quickly, and if you wanted to add text below the below the image, like a caption, you can start doing that right away here. You can see I've got text that's already coming up. But if what you're referring to is actually adding a paragraph, if you click here and start typing, by default, that's going to be a paragraph block, but you can also deliberately add in a specific place a paragraph block. And so this is the difference. I just wanted to show that difference quickly. So this is a paragraph block versus adding a caption below the image, which will kind of happen by default when you add an image.
So one more question we'll go over quickly, two related questions. Can you just talk a little bit about the different types of customizations you can do with the free plan versus the type of customizations you can do with some of the paid plans?
Yeah, sure. So everything that I've shown you today, because we're using a free site, is you can do with a free site. I already mentioned CSS. So on a premium plan, let's start with this. On any paid plan, there's not going to be any ads displayed on your site. And once you add, like if you get up to the level of a premium plan, then you get some additional features. Perhaps we can include the pricing page in our follow-up, but the premium plan will allow for you to access the premium themes. It will allow you access to add that additional CSS, which we can help with to some extent in support. If you use this arrow here, or I'm sorry, not arrow, if you use this icon here with the question mark, you can jump into a live chat with us and you can say, like, hey, all of my links are, you know, all of the links that appear in a paragraph have an underline underneath them. I don't want that. That's something we can help simply write some CSS to fix, and you would have access to that on the premium plan. You would also, on those premium plans, have access to live chat, 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. And then on the business plan, you would get everything that was on the previous plans mentioned, but then you also have the ability to hide that footer credit that we talked about earlier, the one at the bottom of the page. Rather than saying blog@wordpress.com or having the logo, you can hide that entirely. You can add plugins. So that would be, plugins will extend the functionality of WordPress. So for example, if you wanted to build an e-commerce site, you might use WooCommerce, which is a plugin to sort of manage your products and your inventory and shipping and all of those kinds of things. And also on a business plan, you can import and upload your own third-party themes as opposed to choosing only from the ones that are in the repository that I showed you earlier. There's some more differences between the themes, but those are the big ones.
Okay, thank you. We're going to have to wrap it up because we've run out of time, but I want to thank everyone so much for coming, and thank you, Erin, for the presentation. And so do look out in your email for our follow-up. We're going to send you a survey link, a discount code, and of course a link to the recording. If you want to see what webinars we have coming up, check out wordpress.com/webinars and sign up for more. And also, if we didn't get to answer your question, which there were a bunch that we weren't able to get to, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We're here to help. So just go to wordpress.com/contact and you will be put through to us and we can help with your questions. So thank you so much again for coming. We really appreciate seeing everybody here, and have a good rest of your day, everyone.